This is me up at Jim Donnelly's.
What, John?
A wee local artist for the Caltons.
Moved up here.
Moved up here to Caltons, just across from the Celtic Club. And I'm going to give him a wee interview with the guy, tell me a few stories. This is Jim here.
How you doing, John?
Okay, Jim. So I'm wondering this now, Jim. This Princess Diana stuff here that you put up.
Name's Jim Donnelly, but everybody calls me JD, you know. This is a family means 3 years ago, John, you know. Business family, I've known them for years. Actually moved into the Royal Woods in the Calton. But what happened here was 29 cops came into the house in 2002 and they were looking for Princess Diana's mum's jewels. And they wrecked the place and brought all my ceilings down. And they've caused us a lot of aggro early years, like, you know, we fucking try to get this fixed and that. And my lassie was coming to the gate here, throwing herself in front of cars. She ended up killing herself with a drugs overdose because I could not accommodate my family with the condition the house was in, you know what I mean? I'll take you a wee tour and let you have a look to see what's going on.
When you go then you lead the way, Jim, and I'll just follow hood.
Murals here that you see painted. These are ones that it's my protest against the corruption of the police, where my legally searching my house. They're making out Chinese or that. I mean, these are some of my paintings that I done years ago, you know. I've got the house surrounded with sensors and CCTV in every place. In case they decide to fucking do me in, which they can, but you know.
Do you believe there's still a threat to you?
Oh, it's affected me mentally terribly. They tried to section me under the Mental Health Act to shut me up about 8 years ago because I threatened to come through to the Crown Office and set myself on fire. They sent 2 young cops up here and they said, Mr. Donnelly, we've been told to refer you to the mental health. So I said, that's not me, it's myself, a painting of me, so it's a painting up the stairs, John, I'll show you. And it says myself across it, and I've got the crown jewels on, you know, that's my sense of humour, like, you know. But the next day the mental health people phoned me, they said, Mr. Donnelly, I said, hold on a minute, pal, what do you mean we? It takes 2 doctors to certify you, John, I don't know if you know that, right? I said, what do you mean, we'll come up and assess you? I said, no, you're not coming up at all. But anyway, see, when I told them the story, what happened here, how I got roped into this, didn't want to know, because it's their job. They're part of the World Health Organisation. This is what this virus is all about, by the way. It's all fabricated with the establishment and the Eton and Gordon Stone College boys. They've all got together so they can sell their plastics and their money, and they're trying to get rid of all cunts like we. That's what it's all about, by the way. They're trying to regenerate. The World Health, and every country in the EU's got together on this. And that's what Putin's doing now. He's doing that, but he's doing away with his own people, the same as Hitler done, you know. Right, I'll let you get through here, John. This used to be. This used to be my gallery in here, where I used to let students and art students exhibit their stuff. And this is me at the Maras. This is the picture I was talking about a minute ago there. Myself with the crown jewels, you know. That's me at the Maras Market here. See this guy here that took this picture here? He took 200 clips to get me talking out the side of my mouth like a gangster. But that's what they're trying to do. He was the guy who one of the big Edinburgh papers. And this is me at the Maras here. This is the painting I gave to the Moira Anderson Foundation, a wee lass out in Mudlip and Coke Ridge. And there's another right up there, Art Man of East End. There's another one there, Artist Ahead of His Times. This was taken by Harry Benson, one of the famous photographers. And this is the big mural I've done here. You can't see it, I'm down the bottom there, for the community centre across the road, you know. These are some of the paintings I've done years ago. This is the painting that went missing from the gallery in Oslo, I think it was the Scream. I actually done a copy of this, and the CID thought it was the real McCoy, you know. They came into the bars and they got a scream and they found out it wasn't the real McCoy, you know.
Went away screaming.
They went away screaming. What's that dog's toilet there, John?
Nah, I don't mention it.
This is me, this is a Picasso I've done here. That's Raymond Pettigrew, my mate in the antique market here, the GID where I wanted. That's my sense of humour, like, you know.
What was this film?
That was just a sign I made. That's a kind of Peter Housney style one, you know. We're done years ago, you know. I used to use that for the opening shut sign. What's that thing with that?
Was this Muhammad Ali?
That's me doing lorry, aye. That's at Parkhead railway station. And that's where I used to get the bus, the train to Celtic Park years ago, you know.
Right.
That's me doing Grimshaw, the artist. That's a Greenock Harbour there. And, that's early Lowry when he came to Glasgow, the shipyards. He done the wee, that's the guy who done the Manchester artist. He done the wee thing, but that's my version of it there, like, you know.
What was his name?
L.S. Lowry.
Right.
He done the Mind the Matchstick Men.
Aye.
That's something, you know. Then I'll take you up the stairs, John. Let you have a look up here. These are, that's James Brown up there. That's Rossetti, the pre-Rapperlite mob. That's me doing the thing. You have to look in the paintings to see. You see the wee guy with the bonnet there? That was my signature in the paintings. GID, that's me on the left there, you know.
That's actually your portrait, you.
That was my signature in the bars. Like, you always look for the wee GID. That's the Hendrix, that's GID and the drums up there, you know. And Harry, that's a Harry Potter one there in the corner. That's GID with the big white moustache, you know. And that's Joe Pesky up there in the corner. These are based in the bars there. That's Aretha Franklin, and that's Betty Boop at the bars there with GID. I'll take you upstairs, John. You see a lot of robots in here and figures that hang that are I kind of collect toys, you know. I've been doing that for some years, and in the bars. This is the painting here. It was in the Princess of the Fall Guy film. This is a film that a guy made up here, but he's made to sell £40,000 after my story. He bought to sell a yacht last year. He came to my house. This is about 15 years ago, and he said, "JD, I'd like to do a story on this." I said, "No." I said, "I don't want to fight with the cops here because they could set me up." But when my lassie started coming to gate throwing herself in front of cars, I got hold of him. I said, "Go ahead and make that film." So what he done was he borrowed 30 grand off his girlfriend, right? And he hired all the actors out of real people. But I wouldn't let an actor act me, so I acted myself in the film. But I found out what happened was I got an email by mistake for his new age lawyers. And he said that I was a chicken that laid the golden egg. But I found out later on that he was selling it for £28 a time on the internet, my story, the DVD. I'll show you it anyway. I've got it up here if you want to have a look at it.
We'll have a look, John.
But the thing is, I got it taken off the internet, and Paul put it back on again for me. This is my collection of robots here. If you want to spin room, you'll see the robots. Down and on. The bottom, there's a bottom layer and on there, John. Here. They're the antiques of the future. A lot of people don't know that. This is me, my speedboat, you know. These are my cars for years ago, you know. This is the car I hired it for the Jimmy Boyle film. That's the car that was used in the Jimmy Boyle film. They used the Sense of Freedom, it's called. They used the half a dozen of my cars in the film. This is my friend Lou Foley. He was one of the Queen's Guards at Windsor. I ran about Birmingham with him in the 1970s, and he introduced me to Mick Jagger, Peter Stringfellow. There was nobody he didn't know this guy, but he was one of the Queen's Guards at Windsor. And this is how I met Princess Diana. Through him, I used to drive his Cadillac when I was on the run for the jail, you know. In fact, we got stopped coming out to Wolverhampton one night, 2 cops spoke. Stopped to the bobby hats and that. You've no lights in that car, but the lights were underneath the thing. But it's a Lincoln Continental, and that was the same car that was used in the film The French Connection. I don't know if you ever seen that, did you?
Aye.
That was the car that was used in that film. I was with him when he bought it. He bought it up at a car dealer in the Old Kent Road, beside the Thomas a Beckett. The Thomas a Beckett was a pub in the Old Kent Road where the boxing ring up was there. And I ran about with Frank Conte. That was John Conte's brother in the days. And they had a fallout, and what happened was Frank went upstairs with Johnny, and Frank battered the fuck out of Johnny, and John was the British champion then. Like, he came to Liverpool, like, you know. This is my girlfriend Nancy, and that's me. Sorry, street car sales as I call it, you know. That's sort of, you'll not see this, John. It's a bit. That's a car out the French Connection there. I'm sitting in the bonnet, and that's my Dobermans. But you'll not actually see these cars here because they're in the background. These were all used in the Boyle film. These ones here were all used in the Boyle film years ago, you know. But that's kind of worn. It's kind of dusted 3 years ago, you know. This is a John Early picture, and that's my Max Doberman. That's one of my thingways, you know.
How old is this one then, Jim, do you think?
1950s. That's a portrait of Donny Jimmy Reid. He was the guy that kept the shipyards open.
There'll be no drinking.
Aye. That's, bang on, John. That's right. Cracking guy, by the way.
Aye.
I try to expose Alex Salmon at Jimmy Reid's funeral. And what happens, this journalist came out to me, she says, that's Bob Dylan, by the way. She says, I'd like to ask you a few questions. I said, no, I want to catch this guy Salmon. I knew the world media were there, John, right? And what happened was he went out the side door when I got caught in the queue and I couldn't go out. But when I came out, I was driving that old Pajero. There's a photo out there, right? And what happened was I sees him go round the corner with his 2 millions. I went, Alex Salmon, he's waiting away like that till he realised it was me. And then he scurried away like that with his head down. Just the same way he done in the 6 o'clock news when did he get legal advice for independence? He lied to the people of Scotland then. So what does he do the next day? He's a full page in the Daily Express. James Bond's body, him holding a gun. I hired Princess Diana's old minder. So he made it look as though I was hassling him. You get me, you know? And he ran away from me at the funeral. It was the same with Nicola Sturgeon. I went to her house last year. My lassie was still alive, right? And what happened was I chapped the door. It was one of the local taxi drivers said, JD, she's got a house up at the Broomhill Drive at the zoo. So I went up with that chapped the door. Excuse me, dear, have you an idea of Mrs. Sturgeon? No. Slammed the door in my face. So see when I get home, the phone rang. I went like that and says, hello. Mr. Donnelly, Chief Inspector Jim Donnelly, Shettleston Police Station. We got a report you're looking for Nicola Sturgeon's house. Is that right? I says, that's right. Was that not alarming? I says, it wasn't alarming when I pulled her and John Mason and Alex Salmon up in the middle of the forest, and Alex Salmon said, take this man's name and address. Well, he was a bully, by the way. You could tell by the way he spoke to Nicola then. And she took my name and address. That day she threw a letter into my driveway, and I was taking a letter to her house up in Broomhill. See, when I told the cop that, he just put the phone down, because he knew it was me anyway. They knew they'd illegally searched my house. Now, there's a letter there, John. I can dig it out. They sent a cop up here to check the damage, supposedly, to the house, and they wrote out a fraud letter saying that I'd dropped my allegations. You might have a look at it.
Aye, we'll catch up with it, aye. Go.
It's somewhere here, I think. I should have prepared that letter, by the way. I can't find it offhand, John. Is that
That's okay, don't worry about it, we'll get it later.
There's thousands and thousands of letters here. In fact, there's 5 briefcases of letters. I took a private writ out against the police. I didn't know this, by the way. One of the guys in the Sutton, I told me on the south side. And what happened was, I took the 5 briefcases. I wasn't well that day, John, right? and I get out to the sheriff court, and the sheriff clerk, she's, well, Mr. Donnelly, I don't think the sheriff will look at this because of the royal connection, no. So I went up the stair and I come down and I says, Sheriff, can I do this case? She says, I said, listen, I just paid 80 quid here to take this writ out, and I've got a right. So I went up the stair, come back down again. He said, Mr. Donnelly, the sheriff will see you only in a closed court. I said, what does that mean? He said, that means no public, no media. I said, hold on a minute. No, he'll be up the stair again, come back down again 3 times, so I'm right. He says, Mr. Donnelly, the sheriff will see you in a closed court and he won't see you at all. I went, aye, okay then. So I goes in and there's a woman there, policeman, and a cop here. So the sheriff comes in, everybody stands up. Mr. Donnelly, I've looked at your file here and it's time barred. I said, hold on a minute. These thousands of letters here, this is the reason it's been time barred, because I've been kept on a fucking letter writing circle here for nearly 15 years, right? And he walked into the back and disappeared. But what I'd done was, before he walked in, I killed her deliberately. And he smashed my glasses. See how they're split there, the glasses, I don't know if you can see that, right? And the paramedics were called and they took me to the Royal, right? So the big heavy lassie, the paramedics, she said, what was that all about? I said, they wouldn't let the public into my court to see what was going on with my case. And I told them the story, and I went, you that wee guy in London Road with the house? We thought we were a fucking nutjob. Maybe didn't know the story. That's unbelievable what they're doing to you, mate. But that's it. That's the way they're covering it up. Nicola Sturgeon, I'm thinking she's no getting to read my letters. When I went to her house at Broomhill that time, John, I says to her in a letter that I wrote to Holyrood, I'm thinking she's no getting to read my letters, mate, right? I said to her in the letter, Mrs. Sturgeon, seen this world out of you living? Swing your camera around. See the guys, psychos like this guy here, Putin. I done this 2 years ago, and that's what he is, he's a psycho. Now, put it back up. What happened was, see when I wrote in the letter, I put these words in the letter specifically. I said, Mrs. Sturgeon, seen this world that you live in, the guys like Assad and Putin killing their own people. He hadn't started killing his own people yet, Putin. I said, I think you're still living in the Wally and Paul Brown days. You know what she done next week, John? She was sitting in a bucket reading a bureau. So she is getting to read my letters. She used that for her big fucking ego. Now, what kind of person that, and it's supposed to be running a government for the Scottish people. All they're doing is filling their own fucking pockets. And I'll tell you what's happening here. I ran away to London at 15, as you probably know, me being an old Calton guy, right? And my dad, he came back for the war, he wasn't right, so he started busting out balloons with fucking fags and all that. And my ma, he worked in the cleansing and the tonnage, and my ma had to collect the money off him at the top of Baltic Lane before he gambled and drunk it, right? But what I didn't realise then, my dad seen his best pal getting his head blown off, and he was a prisoner of war at Benghazi. So what happened is my ma left my dad in 1960 when we stayed in the Craig Nursery mansions. It was only when they cleaned the building that we realised we stayed in a fucking mansion, right? So what happened was I pulled my ma down to London. It was the bowler hat days, and when I got off the train at London, a guy with a bowler hat and briefcase, excuse me, and he pushed me out the road with his bowler. I went, Christ, they're not very friendly down here, are they? So another one, I'm too busy. So there was a kind of guy with like Bob Marley hair there, like fucking Bob Marley, you know. And I said, yeah, man, he was more civil than the English. I said, listen, I'm trying to get you slough. Don't forget, I'm only this size, you know. He says, bus station there, mate, 4 miles that way. You'll see the aeroplanes coming in at Heathrow. He was right enough, seeing I was on the bus. The aeroplanes were coming and going all the time, right? My brother Paul works there now, I don't know if you know that. He works in the airport. He does the tarmac Adam. But what happened anyway was when I got to Slough, my ma was staying in the Brittle Estate. Now, you put in the picture, the Brittle Estate was a bit like Black Hill here. They moved all the Cockneys out. So I went down there in my 20s and I ended up battling my man in a pub called the Jaws. That was a kind of pub on the brim of the estate, you know. But what happened was my ma's friend Will McGreer, who came from Barrap here to marry this English guy, he was well connected down there. So he knew this Miss Fine up at Pinewood Film Studios, and she had the kennels. I mean, she used to do the Queen's Corgis and Lord Astor's Great Danes, and that was Christine Keeler's Poodlet. But have you heard of the Puma Affair? 1960, it was a big thing with a Russian agent sleeping with an English prostitute, Mandy Rice Davis and Christine Keeler, right? But I got a job in the kennels anyway, and this is how I met Diana Dawes, Sidney James. He gave me a 10 shilling note. My wages were only £3 a week. See, when you tell guys like you that, they don't fucking believe you, because that was a lot of money. Two bob could buy a fucking good baby, you know. But what happened anyway was, I used Miss Vine asked me to deliver the two Great Danes up to the estate. This is where the Pupumo affair was, and the butler would take them off me. But to put in a picture down, it's like a single track road, and just say that's Pine Road there, and there's a wee track road with a cottage down it. It's cottage just like this cottage, right? Only there's a kennels in the back, but I used to have here years ago when I bred the Dobermans. But what happened was, I'm coming back for the Lord Ass's estate. The butler took the dogs off me, and I see this light coming towards me. Now, this is when they make the Hammer House of Horror films. Now, you can imagine somebody at 15, I'm fucking Jesus light, I'm thinking it's fucking Dracula. So I'm jumping behind the tree in case fucking Dracula jumps out, because I used to watch them making the Christopher Lee with the 6 horses, mate, and they had a big fan blowing the fucking cape back. And it used to fucking frighten the life of me, because I thought Dracula was real in the days, you know. So what happens is millions of fucking bats, I'm not talking about hundreds of bats, millions of them, they all fucking fly about. And the trees all grow in creepy like that, and they're all circled. But one of the old Spitfire pilots up at the Feathers pub says to me, Jock, called you Jock down there in the days, this is how they're shaped like that, with the centuries of the gypsies going through with their bow-top caravans. This is what made that like a tunnel, if you get me down to the cottage, you know. But what happened was, this motorbike roars up, just say you're me, right? As he turned, I seen a skull and crossbones on his back, and it said Windsor Chapter. That actually is a motorbike gang to this day. That's the gang that looks after Mick Jagger's security. They were actually a motorbike gang. But he pulled up and they went like, what are you doing here? And I was awful streetwise. You had to be come to the Calton in the days, you know. He had the big long side locks. He didn't need a crash helmet in the days, John. He had the Marlon Brando hat with the chains on it and the leather jacket. And I went, what business is it yours? He said, this is a private road. And I went, these side locks don't go over that voice, you know. So what happened was, I said, what business is it yours? He said, this is a private road. I said, I know, I live here, where? Down the kennels. What's the person's name? I says, Miss Vine. He jumped in his motorbike and he rode away, you know. So the following Saturday, there's a pub called The Ferrers, where all the people out the Carry On films and all that, they all sit outside, Diana Dawes and Mandy Rice Davis, Christine Keeler, Dr. Ward, Sidney James, Barbara Windsor, all these people, they all used to sit outside. And I says, Marie, come here. Aye, what is it, Jock? I says, listen, I come back from Lord Astor's estate the other night there, and a guy in a motorbike pulled me up. Big long siders. Do you know that's Ted, Jock? He carries a gun. I went, is that right? I said, he was awful cheeky to me. No, he carries a gun. This is Marie, the maid. She did maids and butlers in the days, John. I'm talking about pre-60s, right? No. And what happened was, she says, that's Ted, he's a local MI5 guy. He drives round there all night protecting them. But little did I know, Clevedon House, the 300-room mansion where the Pupumo affair was, little did I know the next estate up for that was Ted Heath. He was the Prime Minister. So they drive round there all night protecting him. Now, the reason I found that out, it's called Burnley Beaches, right? When I went down there for work, I got a job in the Mars Bar Sweetie factory where my ma was working, like, in 1960. And what happened was, actually, I got a job in there anyway. But I got done anyway years and years later when I robbed the fucking thing. I robbed the place and for the wages. And I got done for armed robbery, and they sent 2 fucking Scotland Yard officers up, and I was staying above Storey's pub at the time, and I jumped out the back window and I got captured, and they threw me down to London, and one of the engines chucked at the plane and we had to come in at fucking Gatwick, and at they wouldn't take the handcuffs off me because I've done a runner for the High Court in Derby years ago, you know, and they had me like a bumblebee. And what happened was, when I got down there eventually, I get in beside Alan Lake. Now, Alan Lake was Diana Dawes' husband, and the other guy was in and we called them Black Mariahs in the days. was the thing, mate. So they transferred me from Stafford down to Oxford, and they were in the same van as me. And this is how I met Diana Dawes years later. So what happened was, Leapy Lee was the other guy, right? But he had a #1 hit. Now, he put in the picture, Oxford jail is an old-fashioned jail. And it's like kind of sandy brown fucking uniforms you get. No, like you get in Berlin, you used to be black thing with the black trousers and that. And they've got the wee arrows on them, right? Oh, the thing was right. But I was in the Bumblebee because I was an escapee. They put me in a bright fucking yellow and orange thing, right? But what happened was, I had escaped to the High Court in Derby. They handcuffed me to this big gypsy. He had fucking legs, his wrists like the size of my legs, you know, and I slipped the handcuffs off, you know. But what happened anyway was, I'll tell you in a minute about that, right? I sold the Chief Constable Yorkshire's car, right? And the cops were waving people in. I'm going to crash through the barrier. And the next thing, the cop waved us out like that. This is a white fucking traffic mob. And I didn't realise it was the Chief Constable's car. So I've got a photo there. It says 999 on the registration, like, you know. But he must have thought I was the Chief Constable walking with me. Fucking with me. But where was I before that? Where was that? Where was I just before that?
We're Diana Dawes' man in the neck.
Aye. So what happened was Leapy Lee, he had a #1 hit. Little arrows in the treetops, little arrows everywhere. And all the cons are back the fucking door. He was gone fucking mental. But I was in the next cell to Diana's husband, right, Alan. Do you know he blew his head off when when Diana died? Because he was fucking madly in love with her. But he was also a fucking... She was the feeder, if you know what I mean, for his life, you know. But what happened anyway, I used to look out the door, and where my window was positioned, I could just see the Rolls Royce, the big green the Rolls Royce pulling up, and you see Diana Bonte, and I used to chat with pipes, knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want. They used to shout through the pipes, Alan, there's Diana that's coming in. He'd been there fucking combing his hair and all that. But he was a lovely man, by the way, John, fucking brilliant guy. And he wasn't a criminal, and that really shattered him being in the jail and being away for her, you know. But she stuck by him anyway when they came out. But they invited me down to the house in Sunningdale, and I'd never seen a sauna in my life before, and a swimming pool built outside the house, you know. But that's what I can tell you really about that side of my life, you know. But Lou Foley, he was the greatest guy I've ever met. That's the guy I showed you with the 2 lines, you know. But how I met him was when me and Arthur went down to Birmingham, and we used to take cars for the Glasgow market down to there. And I said to Arthur, man, we're in this big Kinswinforth, this big disco in Wolverhampton. I said, Arthur, man, it's getting late, we'll need to find digs. I don't want to sleep in the car, I'm fucking knackered. And we stopped at Birmingham to do the rest of the next day to London, you know. And because all the way down, we used to go to Cardale and see if we were interested in buying this, you know. But what happened was this big guy, Lou, went, I'll set you up, mate, and he'd billets behind his house in Cradley Heath. Google him, lineman of Cradley Heath. You'll see his story. Because I was up at Sora a couple of years ago, man, because, you're a lying bass, such an idea, you know. But these people have never lived, John. They've never got out of their wee circle. You get me?
Right.
You know. So what happened was we slept in Lou's that night, and I ended up getting up and doing, and I got a job with Lou, and I used to drive his Cadillac. It was a Lincoln Continental he had, you know. And he bought these lines anyway, and I bought him a Ford Falcon at the Glasgow market, and I took it down there, and we built a cage into the back for Lado, and I used to drive Lado with a line about Birmingham, and it'd be roaring its fucking head off. And he got a contract. He was well connected, by the way. I used to drive the Exorcist car to advertise the Exorcist film, and if you folded the car, there was a line, a double with big fucking teeth, blood dripping, and you were folding the car, you thought the blood was coming off the back of the car. It was an illusion, but it worked, and it cost £9,000 to paint that car in the days. You know what I mean?
And did you get a sentence for the robbery down there?
I got 3 sets.
What? Did you go through trial now?
Well, in there I was, I made myself mobile in the years. I used to cut the hair, I used to do the Rastafarians here and the Caribbean guys and that, because they wouldn't let any other cunt touch that, you know.
What nick did they put you in?
I was in the first night I went into was Stafford, and then they shipped me to Leicester. But what they done was, they put me in a cell with this guy, and this guy worked in the kitchen. He was a wee thingy guy, and he used to go to the weightlifting. I could pull 500 pounds. I'm 75 now, I still do my weight. I didn't 100 before you come up there and on the barbells. I do it every month. Doesn't matter how well I feel. But I used to beat him at fucking the deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
And he was jealous as fuck. I went to Screws, couldn't get this cunt out of my cell, by the way. He didn't even say a word to me. And the Screws went, he's in the kitchen, you don't see him, you're in the mailbags and that. And I went, fuck that. But I used to sleep with one eye open because he was a fucking psycho, John. So what happened was, he was going to Fleetwood, and I says to the Screws, what's he in for? He said he killed 2 Alsatians, Polish Alsatians, with his bare hands. And I went, for fuck's sake, that made me even sleep with the 2 eyes open, you know. So what happened was, he was going to court in Fleetwood, right, and he stole a knife out the kitchen, and he cut the Screw's throat, and he got the guy behind that was driving the car and threw him out the car, right, and he drove into Derbyshire, right, with a stolen motor that were taking me court with, and he broke into his house, and he killed the 7 of the family, and he kept the woman, and he raped the woman. She was the only one that survived with it, and the police shot him dead, you know. But I said to me, Frankie Fraser, in Leicester, when I moved through to Leicester, that's Mad Frankie, you probably heard of Frankie, you know. I said, Frankie, how is it they put all the fucking psychos in beside me? He said, Jock, they don't fucking like the Scots, do they, you know. That's true, by the way, because they put this big fucking gypsy in with me, and I ended up, you know the batteries used to get in the trannies, a big fucking...
PP9s.
I keep them, they big heavy batteries. I ended up fucking smashed it. And I had to push the alarm because one of the two were going to get killed. But the Screws came and I was all covered in blood and he was covered in blood. But it turned out this cunt was one of the gypsies that fights for 100 fucking grand. And I wasn't much of a fighter nowadays, but I was strong because I used to do the weightlifting all the time. See, what happened was, it's in Mary School, right? I was getting bullied because these 3 cunts at the school took the belt off me. This is at 10. Between 10 and 12 years of age. So you know Peter Royce Cappy, he used to be in the London Road. There was a club down below it called the Great Apollo Club. So I joined that, and I couldn't join it. It was all British champions. This guy used to lift his fucking motorbike up. He was a British champion weightlifter. He had a big beard and that, a big Scotch guy. Used to do the fucking, throw the fucking totem poles, as I call them. And he says, Jimmy, he used to call me Jimmy, and he didn't call me JD. He says, see if you clear up the thing, you can train free. So I used to, it was an old dirt flare weightlifting, the old weights and that, steel weights, and I used to put all the weights by at night. But see, after about a year, the guys that stole my BB belt off me at school, used to be an army belt with studs in it and BB belts and all. And that was just fucking pride of joy way back in the 50s and 60s. And I set about the 3 of them anyway, because I'd made myself fit, you know. But that's Matt McGinn of the Calton there, you know. That's Matt McGinn's book. But Calton Tongs, your boss, JD. Now I'll tell you how this came about. I actually named the tongs. Sparrow McQueen and guys like that, they'll tell you. Do you know Sparrow? Have you heard of Sparrow? Aye. But what actually happened was, me and Toe Elliott, I can't mind the other guy, I think it was Desi Ty or somebody, we went to the Olympia picture hall. This is the pre-60s. And what happened was, we seen a picture called The Terror of Tongs, and when I came out in the movies, I went, hey, that'd be a good fucking name for a mob. And it stuck. But that was my very first bit of graffiti in the Calton there. And that's Matt McGinn there, you know. And that's me there. That's me there in Martha Daly days when I had the car, when I used to have the car pitches and that. That was taken.
And did you do any Scottish sentences then?
I've been in Berlin. In fact, I met my fucking dad in Berlin. He was doing 30 days for fucking... He got done for assault, police assault. Well, you know what the police assault was in the days, John?
Aye, I know. They battered you and done you.
Well, what happened was, in 1960, I got done for fucking police assault again, but I never assaulted anything. It was down the Calton. and 5 screws barged into myself, 5 fucking screws for me, and they backed the shite out of me, you know. But we hear this, right? In 1968, they had a mob called the Untouchables, and I drove a Lotus in the days, right? So what I used to do, if I was going to Savoy, I would take the rotor arm out. I don't know if you know what that is, but that disables the motor, right? And I used to stick it in my back pocket. But in the days, I used to have a fucking bunch of keys, a big bunch with all it. I used to do repairs, and I'd all my customers' keys, Fords, Jaggers, Reynolds and fucking Mercs and all the rest of it, right? And I used to have because one of my workers was taking the cars away at night, and the customer would complain, hey, J.D., I put this in here with a fucking half a tank of petrol, and he was running about the town with one of my customers' motor. So what I done was I used to take the keys with me so as they couldn't take the motors, right? So this is where when I had the Risk Street motors, they used to say, you'll take a risk if you're buying a motor after that, can't you know? The Sorry Street cars, that was Sorby Street, they called it Sorry Street. No, the best laugh I ever got there, John, right? This taxi drew up one day. And this big guy came out, big cowboy guy, right? I'm looking for JD, mate. I went, that's me, what is it? He says, we've been highly recommended from the old taxi boys down at the rank at Central Station. He says, I'm looking for an old banger to get me out round Glasgow for a week to visit friends. I said, I've just got the thing for you here. I've got a 1600E here. It was hand-painted black, right? But it's still has a month's tax on it, right? It's worth a fortune now. It's worth about 10 grand now, if you had one. So he went, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind a test drive. There you go. So I'm taking him round. We've been down Hellville Street by the Tavern Pub, where the big by my house where I'm at now, right? And we could down Canmore Street and back up Hellville Street and back into Tollcross Road. And we get into Sorry Street. And the next thing, these fucking 2 cars screeched up, and I was thrown out of the bonnet of the car with a gun back to back of my head. And the big guy with the cowboy hat and the lumberjack jacket, tartan type jacket, he gets thrown out of the bonnet. And he went like that. I went, fucking hell's going on here, man? Somebody had robbed the post office down there, just down at the bottom here, but my house, it's a 101 shop now, you know. And they'd used a black car as a getaway car, the same car as we were fucking driving. So after I explained what had happened, and I just took this big guy, he was looking for a banger to get me around Glasgow. The cops let us get in. I went back into the office, which was the caravan where I stayed in the days, you know. And the big yank went, Garamari, JD. I said, I come from Chicago. And the fucking when I had this fucking Al Capone was fucking born there, I think, you know, he said, I'm 5 minutes in Glasgow, I've never even seen a fucking gun. He said, I've got guns packed in my fucking back now. I said, that's my fucking life, that's what happens with things. But that was just that time, you know. But I could write a bestseller. No cunts of the life like me. I've been dead twice. See that? The burns there. That was a gas explosion. I've come down to the old Arthur's house, Royston Road, right? Arthur Thompson's house, right? I worked for Arthur a while till I get wise to him. He was using this.
Just a lot of people don't know.
In 1960, there was a guy called Hughie Green. He had a show on the TV, he opened the box, and Arthur went like that. Keep your eye on this guy, don't let me and John Gallagher, well, J.D., I don't mention John's name. Keep your eye on this guy, you know. And Arthur smacked Kelly that time. I don't know what it was all about. There was something happened there, you know. But anyway, I went, this guy's giving me a fucking pure using. But anyway, I was coming down Royston Road, and I'm 5 weeks out the Burns unit, and I see smoke belching in this building, right? So I runs up and I batters all the doors, because I've been in a fire myself, John, and I died in the Royal. I know what like it is, it's terrible, and I seen kids in there dying. One kid had touched an electricity thing with a thing on the railway, and they fucking torched him, and he was in the Burns. He's not even going to last the next day. I became that experience by looking at people. Another one, there was an old guy and a woman. She was mowing the lawn and ran out of fucking petrol, and he was lighting his pipe as she walked by with a fucking can of petrol, and the two of them get burnt to death, you know. Things like that, you know. Wow. But anyway, I sees the boat, so I runs up and bangs all the doors, right? And I go to the top flat, and there's a wee woman about 4 feet. I said, Mrs. the building's back. But this time the smoke's belching up. I wanted to get my fur coat. I said, never mind her fur. So I threw her on my shoulder, and I ran all the way down the stairs through the smoke. And she's coughing and spluttering by the time we got out on the street. And I just left. The next day in one of the papers, who was this big hero? But I didn't stand a bit for any fucking thing, man. But to me, I seen somebody in trouble and I helped him, you know what I mean?
That's right, you've done your duty,
Aye.
Good.
Because that many things happen, but I'll give you an instance, right? I was on the Celtic club. This is 35, maybe, coming up for 40 years ago. Lou Foley introduced me to a guy called Don Futro. Now, Don Futro was a man, he was the top man in Birmingham. He had a disco Pollyannas and Barbarellas. They were named after his daughters. Now, he put you in the picture, the type of guy he was. Do you ever see that advert? Go compare, go compare. See the guy with the big moustache and the wavy hair? He was Italian.
Aye.
That's what he was like. It was a spit image of him. But he was fascinated with guys like me. He's got me up in his wall with George Raft, Ron and Reggie, one of the top guys in the city. And it was Lou that introduced me to him, you know. I'd done a few wee tricks for him and all, by the way, you know. And what happened was, I can't talk about this, by the way. This is a different thing. This is get into a film with Michael Caine in it. The Jai in the film. Did you see that film? Where he's chasing the guy down the... And he hits him with a bottle of whiskey. The shotgun. And then the big shovel comes along and takes him and drops him into the water.
Aye.
Do you know who the Jive is in the film? The hitman in the film, no? No. I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm not telling you, right? No, that's it. But listen, anyway. Before that, I'm just trying to think now.
Is that a film called Get Carter?
Aye, that's it, aye. But I'm not going to go into that track, right? Because it could lead to a lot of different other things in my life, you know. But anyway, where was I just before that?
Can't mind. I'll away by it. But what we'll do now is...
I was on Don Futro. And we're up in his disco anyway, and Lou introduced me to him. But this is how I met a lot of these famous people through Lou. And Lou built the Bull Ring. I worked on the Bull Ring in Birmingham. It was a big place like the Fords you got here, you know. But Lou was a total eccentric, by the way. He's one of the guys that they're one in a million. You don't get people like him. He looks after people. If you know what I mean.
Your others are going, know what I mean? Your others certainly all go, know what I mean?
What?
People for your era.
Aye.
For your age.
I'm going
to...
deep.
What do you call it? We'll have a crack about... What I want to know is, mate, you tell me that, okay, your house got turned off for the jewels in it.
Aye.
Right? Some people say there's no smoke without fire, right? How did they decide to just come here?
That's a good question, John. I don't really know, but what happened was in 1960, in the town, the mob called the Untouchables, right? This is cops. They went about in a Commer van, and that was the time I drove a Lotus. I never finished that's what the story I was talking about. I took the Rotterdam out my Lotus, right, when I went to the Savoy dancing, and I used to get into the Sab, right? But before I went in, there was a young guy for the Calton, I can't mind his name, he stayed in the dwellings. He went, Jidey, what are you driving tonight? I said, I was kidding on an E-type, but he touched the E-type and the alarm went off. Saw these guys come all running down, and they jumped on him, and I ran out and pulled this guy up. But next thing they were all fucking pulling me. It was the guys out the Untouchable ones. They never showed any idea that they were cops, right? So they've got me in the van, one stood on my head, one stood on my, and this cunt's pressing my skull into the... But I'm going round, and I know the architecture, because I look at all the buildings round about the town anyway, for the architecture, with the slave owners that built all these big fancy buildings, right? And I said, we're in Blythe Square, you know. So what happens, they took us down to St Andrew's Cop Shop and they took a big bunch of keys, and this desk sergeant went, well, fuck, you're some fucking car thief, you, Mercedes, Fiat, Rover, you've got car keys with it. Oh, you've even got a fucking Rotterdam. So in these days, you had to pen your thing in the bar book, right? So after they'd signed me in and put all my things in, I said, you better go and pick my Lotus up. It's fucking lying in Bath Lane. Oh, his fucking face went like pure red, man. Because I had the Rotterdam in my car, it was lying in the town. But see all the keys I had to call an African guy who's, I think it was his Renault I was doing, as a witness that was his car key. And Robbie had America in there, and that was Robbie's key. And they ended up, the sheriff went like that. But what happened was I had to question all these untouchable guys. Lawrence Stoudles, he was my lawyer at the time, but he wanted 180 quid. I said, I've not got that kind of money. In fact, I said, I'll just fight the case myself. So when the cops came in one day, the exact same thing written down in his book, I cross-examined him. He went out, another one, blah, 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 cross-examined. After the fourth witness, it was always Irwin Smith. He used to read his lessons down like that. Mr. Donnelly, you can go. And he shouted me back into court. I'll give him his due. He says, if you want, you could take a complaint against her. So my fucking wild take it. That would make my life worse. I said to myself, and I just walked out the way with that. But another time, this just shows you how the cops hassled me. I was going up Toll Cross Road, just up to the cottage where the two boys were found, you know. And I seen this cop looking round. They were walking on the left-hand side of the road, just at the zebra crossing. Can't remember. And I said, that cunt was trying to stop me there, you know. So the next thing, a wee panda pulls in at the lights at the cottage, up at the window down the car. I said, what is it? Two Dobermans are barking like fuck. They're excited because they're going up the park, you know. That's one of them there, Max. And what happened was, up at the window there, I said, what's the problem, mate? You're the problem out the car. I said, what? I said, I've not done nothing. So they charged me with overtaking the zebra crossing. So I was in the car wash at Sorry Street, and this guy, Frank, taxi driver, he said, Jidey, I seen the cops filming you the other night there at Shelton Road at Zebra. I said, that's right. They said, I said, Frank, any chance of going? I went, Jidey, I can't go away. So the fucking town me put me up the road. So I could understand that in the days, you know. So I went like that anyway. I says, gets into court, and you want a court lawyer? I said, no, I'll fight this myself. So the first cop comes up and he's like that. Mr. Donnelly, I seen Mr. Donnelly, and he was doing about 60. He was trying to explain what had happened, right? How I'd overtook the zebra crossing. He said I was doing about 65 mile an hour. And what happened was the sheriff says to me, Mr. Donnelly, would you like to ask some any questions? I said, at what point? He was still looking up at the sheriff, he wasn't even looking at me. I said, at what point did you see me overtaking this so-called taxi? This was the guy that was behind me, Frank, at Sorry Street, you know. And he says, he was looking up and said, when I seen Mr. Donnelly, he was doing about 65 mile an hour. And he was right on the zigzag line of the cars. So he went away. And what you might say to this witness, I said, no. So the next witness came in, he had the exact same thing written down in his book, to a T, 65 mile an hour overtake. Sheriff says to me, Mr. Donnelly, you're right to question this officer. I said, aye. So he was still looking up at the sheriff, and I wasn't even looking at me. I said, at what point did you see me overtaking this so-called taxi and that? And he says, when I seen Mr. Donnelly, he was nearly up in the pavement, and he was doing about 65 minutes, and the sheriff went, Mr. Donnelly, away you go. One said I went to the right, another man said I went to the left. He said I went to the zigzag line, and another one said I was nearly up in the pavement. The sheriff went, away you go. Fucking lying bastards. Now, how this came about, right, I think, I've thought of two things, right. My stall was broken at the bars in 2002, and I lost £5,000 worth of jewellery, right. Now, what happened, I think, there, me and Nancy were up in Oban, that's my girlfriend, I showed you a photo of her. And she liked going out to charity shops. I like going out to charity shop in the bars myself, you know. And what happened is I bought an art book, it's lying about there somewhere, for 50 pence. And when I got home, a letter fell out it, right, with Princess Diana. And it said in the letter, it's an anthology on an artist called Botticelli. That's the Birth of Venus. I don't know if you've ever seen that painting. It's a shell, and there's a lassie coming out it with long, streakily blonde hair. It's a very famous painting. It's worth about 50 million now, maybe even more, you know, in the arts market. But what happened anyway was fucking lost the track again.
You went to Oban.
Aye, and the letter fell out. I think they were looking for that letter, but how it came about, there was a guy in there called Wally. He used to do German helmets and medals and badges, you know.
Yeah, where in Oban?
No, in the Barras.
In the Barras, right.
Queen's Market it was called then. Right. So what happened was I seen I met David Cameron, the Prime Minister, before he was the Prime Minister. Sheena MacDonald.
Did somebody see the letter? Did you show people the letter?
I'm going to explain how that came about now. right? I watch everybody that comes in and out the market, right? I met poor Kieran, Bob the barman, all these people, David Cameron. He gave me his business card, 10 Downing Street and all that. House of Commons number and all that. It wasn't in Downing Street then, sorry. And I said he must be a big shop. And I wrote to Cameron, he put me on to Salmon, and the usual fucking roust about all these get passed on to one to the other, trying to get it squared up. But what happened was, this guy came into the moustache, the market, the big Charlotte white moustache that I used to have, very, very shallow in the cheeks. And I went, I know his face for something. This is me thinking to myself. And I said, I wonder if he's an actor. So he goes out to Wally's, and he's looking at Wally's fucking bayonets and guns and fucking all the army memorabilia stuff that he sold. So what happened was his pal came out, there was another guy with him, he came out and he went, can I have a look at the medals? I had 3 army medals there. They were just basic army medals, they weren't fucking George Crosses or anything like, you know. So I'm sure him. So I went like, so what you pay, mate? Oh, mate, we live up the Oban, mate, and I went, oh, is that right? I said, I was up there the other week, and I said, funny enough, I found a letter in the shop. I'm telling him about this fucking letter I found with Princess Diana. So he gets away and he goes round the market and he comes back round with his pal with a white moustache. And he says to me, the guy with the white moustache, can I have a look at the letters and that, please? And I went, sure, no. So they had a look and then they went away. Now, his pal had mentioned about the letter, right? So what had happened was, I had Wally came out to me and he went, Wally, do you know who that was? And I went, no. I says, he's an actor. I said, I knew his fucking face was somewhere. He said, that's fucking Mad Max. Me, the guys that slid down the pole at the Iranian embassy and they shot all the fucking, I don't know if he shot that Polish woman or no, but I was thinking it was the same scenario. They went in there with the smoke grenades and that.
Balkan Street Siege.
Aye, they slid down the pole. He said, that was that guy, Mad Max. I can't mind his name now. But see the following Monday, my stall was broken into and £5,000 of my jewellery went missing. It was all rings and stuff that I used to hire out for props for the BBC and that. Now, see if any of the squad had entered the day with the jewellery, I would have found out about it. Because I know all the guys. I went down the Brigade asking people about if you get big tan burns and all that, anybody sells you any jewellery, give me a shout because my stall got tanned, you know. But doing that, there was a lot of junkies about, somebody might have been listening in and heard something about jewellery. I was thinking this how it might have came about that way and all, with my stall getting tanned, you know. But I don't really know. I was thinking maybe it's from my past tense, with me beating the Untouchables and all these top cops years ago, you know. So I don't really know, John, how this stall got tanned, you know.
And what drove him to your house then? Was it a special branch that came up here first to see about the jewellery? It was
MI5, but a big guy called Charlie Hendry and another cunt, I can't mind his fucking name.
So you just tell the people who lived in Oban at the time, Diana's ma lived
Shan Kidd's house was done and she lost her jewellery at the same time as I lost my jewellery. But what happened was, me going down to Paddy's Market looking for jewellery, one of the junkies has been logging in and he's heard discussion about jewellery and he's obviously known me. So he's been like, this cunt had the jewellery. But I found out later on, right, that somebody was paid 250 quid cash for the false information leading to a search of house. But a guy for the Caltons, I'm going to mention his name because you know him, right? But I sent a couple of guys down to him and the guy sent a message back, tell JD it's got fuck all today with me. And I put his own name. But I even approached you and you said that guy gets blamed for everything. You know what I mean?
When they came here, did they tell you it was Diana's Moss jewellery they were looking for?
Never said nothing.
Never
They
said
took us down
anything?
to London Road cop shop.
When was the first time you knew it was Diana's Moss stuff?
When we went down to on the tape recordings at London Road cop shop. But they've destroyed the tapes. They've destroyed all the evidence today with this case. And the letter, I've got the letter in a lawyer's, it's only a copy of the letter. I've got the letter in a safe place, John, you know. You know what I mean?
Did they tear the place apart?
What happened is, if you want, I'll show you here.
Aye, on you go.
See this here? This is the, in there, that's all foam there. And there's the plumbing for the whole of this house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now see if you look here. Can you see the marks there, John? See the marks?
Right.
See the marks there? That's all the water. You see that ceiling? That's a temporarily ceiling.
Uh-huh.
Right, it's only up temporarily. I had a ceiling line below that. But I had 4-inch icicles in here. And I had no electricity for nearly 18 months, right? And that's when they sent the 2 cops up to try to certify me. They come in with their torches on, and they were ashamed at the conditions I was living in. Now, what I says to the Crown Office, I said, what have I got to do to get justice here? Come through to Edinburgh, set myself on fire outside the Crown Office. You know how I was badly burnt in the gas explosion, right? And I said, it's no me, it's myself. I don't know if you can see it, but see that? That's my sense of humour painting. But there's myself who's painted across that painting there. Can you get into your camera there, John? It should say it there.
Myself, JD.
Yeah, it's there, see it? Myself. If you want to go up the stairs, I could take you up the stairs and show you. Watch that step there, John.
Right, go do some.
I do like to go in here, John, but right, watch that wee step there, John.
Go do some.
See the wee tiny step hold on to that, mate.
Okay.
This used to be me and Nancy's room, you know.
Uh-huh.
That's a big painting I done at Ferris years ago. Paul was up here about 18 months ago.
Who's that wee Paul Ferris?
Aye, Paul, aye.
That's a fucking good one, man.
There's a better one. There's one I done to Frankie Fraser. That's my wee mate, Frankie.
Uh-huh. I heard the Paul Ferris one.
I don't want to pull this up, John, but see under there.
Uh-huh.
You see how the plumber had to put new pipes in for me?
Lift it up for somebody to see if I'll photo there.
What one? This one?
No, wee Paul.
Oh, the Ferris one. There's a better one down the stair there, a wee one I've done him.
Aye, that's a nice one, man. That's a good
like that
fucking-
one?
Aye, aye. Aye. Aye, I like that, man.
Yeah.
Have you still got old Arthur Thompson's seat?
No, it's
Remember
a
you got his big white seat, didn't you?
Story, that man.
How did you become that?
I bought it up at Parliaments in the Brigade, right? With Fat Boy get murdered. It was all covered in blood underneath it, you know. But what happened was I wasn't right after this fucking search. It done my head in with Carol and Malasia coming to the gate and all that. But what happened was the News of the World guy stopped at the gate here. And I didn't know he was in the News of the World, but I found out later he was an ex-cop for Durham. David Leslie's name. He's wrote a couple of books, by the way. And he says to me, I'd like to do a wee story in your war and that for the News of the World. I said, no bother on that. He said, come in. I said, no. So what I done is I set up a recording camera, because I know how the media works. I've got a wee 2-inch camera, I brought it up to Paul, right? And come up the next day and that. And what was that? He says, sitting down the stair and that. See where I sit? I know. And he went, that's a nice chair. And I said, that's Arthur Thompson's old chair. Oh, and he went, is that right? So what he done was, we started talking about the chair out here. It's kind of away after the war. So he said, I'd like to do your thing. Can I come up tomorrow and we'll do a wee story? And I said, no bother. So he's saying to me, sitting in chair like that, you know, I'm sitting in chair and he's fucking, put your leg out this way. But what I didn't realise, he'd a photo of Arthur Thompson sitting in the chair. And he's got me in the same position. Did you see that thing with the News of the World? What he done was, he left out the story of the fucking war and done a story in the chair, you know?
I can't.
Right, he turned it out to make me look into the biggest fucking villain in Glasgow. That's basically what it was about, John, you know? Hey, you want to get down the stair, aye? But this used to be our room.
Be attic.
Aye.
Could you?
Right, just watch that.
What do you think the COVID was all about then, Jim?
Like, let me tell you what's happening here. In 1960, I went out to Eton College, right, with the Queen's Corgis. And there's a pub called the Crooked House. It's got the right name. It's attached to Windsor Castle. Alec gets in there. You can have a pint and drive nowadays, John, right? It's not like nowadays. So what happened was, Alec went in for a pint and I said to Alec, listen, I'll take a wee walk out to Eton. There's a pub called the Queen's Arms where all the college boys hang about, right? And they play that game of pool with the pegs on the table. It's not like our game of pool here, you know. And there's two standing outside. They've got the tails and the waistcoat and a wee turned up shirt. And I said, what did he teach you in there? And this man went, hey, it teaches me the means of taking money off the lower class people and keeping them down. I went, is that right? Felt like cracking a cunt in the jaw. But that's Dominic Raab. He's in power now, and I'm sure the wee blonde cunt with him was your Boris. Right, did you know this? Did you know that Boris Johnson's dad, right, Stanley Johnson, wrote a book in 1970? What do you think the book was called? The Virus. Google it if you don't believe me. Now, what's happening here? See my mate Lou Foley with the Lions. Lou educated me terribly, and with me going down to Eton College and talking and mingling with these people, this is where I got my education. John, I never let fuck all at school. All I learnt at school was fucking Bermuda, Row 1 0, and there was a wee bar of Humpty Dumpty. I've yet to meet the cunt, you know. But that's what they tell you in school. They don't learn you when you come out. Oh, if you get done into trouble with the government of Polish, you've got to write thousands of letters, and then they pass you in, and then they time bar you. You don't get educated to that side of life, you get me, you know? But anyway, what's happened here? The World Health Organisation, the EU and every country, you've got the Scottish government, the British government, all the governments selling arms to each other to kill fucking people, right? But what's happening here? The EU and every country kind of look after all cunts like me. I'm 75 now. And what it is, they've created this virus to make money. You got a toilet roll factory, you sell virus, you sell plastic glasses, plastic money, plastic cares, plastic cars, you're into it. Now, how I first twigged to it, John, there's a film called The Graduate. You ever seen that film? Right, Dustin Hoffman. That's the one where he's driving the wee red sports car and he goes up to the church and he batters the door, and his girlfriend's going to get married to this Harvard University guy, right? And she looks through it, seeing his twisted mouth. She says, this is the kind of family I'm going to get into. But see, the mother-in-law, Mrs. Robertson, that's what the song was about. Hey, Mrs. Robertson. Mind that film, John?
Aye.
Simon
Garfunkel.
She was trying to lay him, right? She was trying to lay him in the film. But what happened was, when eventually near the end of the film, he's going to get married to the senator's daughter. He was a senator in the White House. He pulled Dustin Hoffman over his shoulder and he twisted his shoulder around about plastics. That is the future rip-off. That was 1970. I took that in then. You get me? And that's what they're doing. Everything's made of plastics. See the big ballers out there, £50 a time. It's all for them to slow the whole economy down. And that's what it's all about. And they can't look after their own in every country. You have been breathing dust in this house. See when the sunlight shines in, John, all you can see is speckle of dust. See that thing you turned off there? I've got to have a dehumidifier going all day to suck the dust out into the filter there. But that's all they're doing. They're making fucking millions and millions and millions of pounds. And the corruption, they're a guy, 28 million quid, an American guy, at the start of this so-called pandemic. But that's what they do. They start mad cow, disease, fucking foul. Right, I'll tell you how I twigged out it, all right? I ran about the West End of Glasgow, Colours Pub on Byers Road, right? 17, 18, up to I was 19, right? And up Billy Connolly's wife's Rio Sakis Hotel. This is my Lotus driving days, right? And one day we were sitting out in Ashton Lane, right? And I noticed, this is a guy who's now a brain surgeon, right? And the lassie that's with him, she's a writer and a poet, right? And I went, how come you've not got your polio diphtheria mark and that? Oh, we don't get that. That's only for the poor people in the northeast end of the city. That's how I wouldn't let them put anything into me unless I was really dying or if there's something really not with me.
Have you had any COVID jabs?
No, never. I don't trust them, John. Have you? Have you? Aye?
I'm not saying anything.
Well, so I don't trust them.
I don't know.
Because what they're doing, they're brainwashing you every time you turn on the telly. COVID, this, so many thousand people. Right, this time last year, the new hospital, the Queen Elizabeth, Stoke Pill, I was up for an X-ray and scan there. This time last year, I was at the Honour College in the Royal Infirmary. Every hospital I've been in, there's been people lying in the fucking beds in corridors. No one in the wards, in corridors. And I had to go and get a nurse. I said, look, there's a guy up there taking his last breath, and the guy who wasn't even in his 40s. The guy died, by the way. Now, this is what's happening with the National Health Service. They can't cope. And all the big shots that's earning the fucking money, the big money, they're not getting the money that they want, and they're trying to privatise the National Health Service. That's what they're trying to do, you know. Always remember this, John. I suffered with ulcers years ago when I was 16, 17, right? It's because I kept everything in as a kid, right? And my ulcer burst in the Calton one day. And up in Royal, and the surgeon tried to get me to get in for the operation. I said, no, every cunt I knew, they're all fucking dead now that get operated on for ulcers, right? And he went, listen, I see you're a mechanic, and I see you're a man of the motor, I'm a man of the body. It'll be me, it'll be doing your operation personally. He said, listen, I've got a problem with my car anyway. He says, he drove a Humber Hawk, right? That was next to a Rolls Royce in the days. In fact, the Rolls Royce engine in it, right? So I said, where's the car? And he said, down the car. I said, let me see the keys. And I went down. Oh, and I went like that, opened a bit. Oh, it's fucking stinking of petrol, John. It's got electric pumps, 2 electric pumps in it in the back. One's for the reserve tank, the other. And I went like, I took it back. I said, don't even fucking think of starting that car. I said, see, this ignite with a wee spark, you know, like a set of points in a car. I said, that'll blow up. The car will blow up with you fucking in it with that much fumes. He said, I only noticed that the other day. I said, well, don't even drive your car. And he thanked me, but I never went to the operation. I never took the operation, you know. But he was trying to explain to me, but everybody I knew had fucking died, but, you know. But I killed there one day in the Great Western Road, in a Mulser bus. And what happens, I was in the Garton Able Hospital for 7 weeks, and I was really, really ill. And I was sitting in my mate's shop, and Sheena MacDonald come in. That was a news broadcaster that got knocked down with a police motor in London. Don't you can mind of her? Sheena MacDonald. She went, JD, she was one of my customers. She says, JD, you're looking awful rough. I dropped from 12 stone down to 8 stone. In fact, I thought I had cancer, you know. But what had happened was my small intestine had burst, and it was all stress related because I was fucking thinking about workers and business and all the rest of it, you know. But she told me to take aloe vera and even the primrose oil. See, within a week, I was back up to normal health. These are medicines that we don't know about, John. In fact, I met Tony Roper there 2 months ago in Holland and Barrett. See, when you get into your doctors, they're giving you fucking paracetamol and fucking powders and fucking lot of shite. That's all it is. It's medical companies that are owned by all these eating college boys. And see, we look at them, it'll say on it Essex or Maidenhead or Slough. It's all for the crews above at these factories all around about fucking England, you know. But that's what the virus is. To me, the virus is fabricated. And see that weapon there, the telly, that's the biggest fucking weapon you've got. A lot of people don't even look at the news. But if you look at my vote at the very beginning, my protests here, I got a fridge and I made it into a robot. Did you see that one, John?
No.
The robot, right. A guy spoke there last year and he went, JD, I used to think you were a fucking nut job. He said, see him, you putting that, it's right, they're trying to robotise you, that's what they're doing, they're slowing you down. In fact, a couple of months after, a guy stopped and he went like that. He shouted out at me, a fucking nut job, and I was painting the watch, I change it every year to annoy him, right? And I went, your fucking head, because I've seen his man pulling away gardener's plasters or something, you know. 4 days later, I seen it turn up. See, I'm watching all the time round about me, John, because it's mob I'm dealing with, could take you out, you know. Because I've got that much on that I could bring a whole police force and the government down by the way. I've got that much on them, right? So what happened was, I here's a voice, my voice higher there, but I stood up, you know. And he went, JD, here's my hand, my heart with you, man. He said, I apologise by the way. I didn't know the story. Right? He said, I've been talking to a couple of guys that know you. He said, Big Alec Morrison, the boxing promoter. He says, no, that wee guy, I've known him for 45 years. He said, he used to come into my garage all the time with cars. He said, that wee guy's fucking A1, you know. In fact, that was the time I used to be up wholesale business. And Big Alec asked me one time, the guy, he said, back there, my Chesterfield chair for me. And I went, aye. And one of my workers lost the fucking leg. And I'm in the garage getting petrol one day. And Kathleen, that's Alec's daughter. JD, my dad wants to see you. So I went in and I went, young Alec's lying under a lorry. I said, this is young Alec Morrison, Alec's boy, you know. I said, Alec, where's your dad? He's up in the gym. So I'm away up the stairs in the gym. This is in the Sydney Street, or Melbourne Street, you know. So I get up and he opens the door. And when you get in, see, he shut the door, you don't know where the fucking door is. And it's all weird like this. I've got here, right? And the next thing, this fucking door opens and Big Alec Cherry, and he grabbed me in the fucking throat. Where's my fucking cherries? Where's my chair leg? Somebody must have told me his fucking chair leg was missing. He'd be like, he's going to punch you. You see, I fucking knew months ago my leg was missing the chair. But he's a party, he pumps the horn every day, he goes by. In fact, he was after this house, see, before I got this house here. But he built a big house up in Camille Avenue there, you know. I'm not Big Alec. I was doing seeing Alec last month there, and I was in the young Alec's garage, and I was talking about the number in his car, and he couldn't remember this. I think Big Alec's getting a bit slow now, you know, because he's in his 80s, you know. I said, Alec, that's my mate's number, and that. Mine I told you I ran about with Frank Conti, and they went up the stairs in the boxing ring in the Thomas a Beckett pub. All the top boxers used to go there. In fact, that Joe Bugler, he stayed across the road from me in Maidenhead, when I stayed in Maidenhead, outside London years ago, you know. But I said, see that J1 100 knockout? I said, that was my mate John Conti's number. And he went, ah, that's right. I said, you know what, I fucking me to go to that, Alec. I said, I can remember that. But he knew Lou Foley, the lineman, because he used to go to boxing, dues all over the place, you know. I was telling you about Don Futrell, right, in the Celtic Club. I was in the Celtic Club, this was about 40 years ago, and I heard this fucking accent behind me in Birmingham. So I told him, where did he come from, mate? And he went, I said, Brum. I said, you know Don Futrell? That's the guy with Pollyannas and Barbarella's, the discotheques named there. He said, I'm his fucking accountant. He said, that's unbelievable. That was the guy's accountant. He's up here. Celtic mad. But they are in Birmingham. I didn't know that, John. He says, the thing, you know. I was in Birmingham, Nick, when they brought the Birmingham 6 in. John, you might have heard the coins. They were all batting the door. The screws battered the fucking shite out of them. They battered the shit out of them. I was batting my door and all. But that's when they brought them in, because they're Birmingham cops, isn't they? But see, when I came out to Birmingham, I was paired up with this gypsy guy, and he showed me how to make the gypsy vans. And I made 2 lovely gypsies, and I painted all the wee gypsy scenes on them. And this screw kept saying, oh, Jock, you need to sell me that. I said, no, I'm not selling, I'm taking them to my house in Glasgow and that. But see, when I was going through reception, the one in the gypsy van was away, you know. I said, that bastard stole it at me. So I had 70 quid up my shiter, right? And I had a sovereign ring and a couple of things. But I used to dip barn in the jail, and I used to take watches, think me after call you did watches in there, you could wear them. And I had 70 quid. So right across with Vincent Green, there's a car showroom. So when we been in the motor game, and I seen the car guy, and I went, car salesman, see an L3? I've got that Corsair there, you know. 100 quid, mate. I went, I've not got 100 quid, I've only got 70 quid in this sovereign. And that'll do, he says. So he didn't do the sovereign up my arsehole, you know. So I gave him it, and I'm driving along through Wolverhampton. I'm heading to Lou Foley's, the lineman's. And I see this lovely bit of stuff. Don't forget, I've been locked up for fucking 3 years. And I fucking banged into the back of this fucking Volkswagen. The guy jumped to, oh, fucking get on. I said, I'm sorry, mate. I think there's a fault in my brake. I just said that, you know. And he looked, I said, no damage anyway, mate. You're all right. But when I go to lose, Lou couldn't accommodate me. But wait till I'll tell you the story with the line. On this here, he had to say this. I didn't know Lou had wrote this line, right? Lado. That's Sheba, right? It says here, this is Mr. Swinley, he done all the write-ups, he was the guy for the local Birmingham paper. 74 said, an encyclopedia salesman say a plaque on the door saying beware of the lines. He didn't have that. He thought it was a joke. The line escaped and went for him. And he managed to hide on it under an agricultural lorry where the line couldn't get him. That was me when I was on the run for the jail. I ran away for the jail. And I headed for Lewis, aye.
What was that, a remand home?
No, the prison. Ramby prison.
Oh,
I cut the bars off the cell and I climbed up. I made hooks and I climbed up the wires and I broke my left leg. And when I went to lose, that's the time I sold the Chief Constable's car at the roadblock. They were doing roadblocks on the M18 and I was going to crash through and the cop waved us through. He thought it was the Chief Constable, right? But what happened was Lou knew the woman at the big truck place at the M18 at Doncaster. Sorry, Rotherham. And she opened the door and she went, come in, Jock. Marie was her name. Come in, Jock. There's a news flash in the telly. I don't approach this guy. He could be dangerous. This is me because I'd escaped from the jail, you know. But what happened was I got this... I'm going back a few years, you need to think here. Aye. One of the local guys inside gave me a bit of information. See me come out, he knew I was going to escape. You'll see yellow lights through the woods and that's the M6 or motorway there. So I headed through there, right? And I broke my left ankle, right? I didn't realise it was broken. So I've still got the prison gear on. So what happened is I'm going through the woods and I came out on the motorway and it's pitch black. So I see this light coming and the light's shining into the road. I see that they cunts might be looking for me. So I'm thinking it's a police motorbike, man, these swivel lights they used to get in the American cars years ago. And I hear these voices and I looks along and it's focusing in the darkness and I can see a guy with a rucksack and a bird with long hair, like kind of fucking share type hair, you know. And next thing I see this lorry stopping. And it big series things you get. It's like the sign in front of an Audi car. They were all stacked up to it. So what happened was he's holding the racks up to her. She looks round and she seen me, right? And what happened was he threw the rucksack and he pulled her up into the cabin. The guy was giving him a hitchhike, right? So I'm in there in the dust and I'm like, the vacuum's fucking going to suck me out. And I'm going like, I'm trying to hold on. And it's all grey dust and it's on my eyes. And at that time, they were looking for the Black Panther. I don't know if you mind of him. He was going to be shooting every cunt in the post offices. It's Neeson or something, his name. Aye. So what happens, I sees the big chimneys where electricity things are. I knew where I was. I knew I was in Yorkshire still. And the sun's just rising through this big hole. It's dead surreal, John, honestly, God. And I'm looking through this big fucking circle. And the next thing I hear is the motor changing down gear, you know. And we came to Ferry Bridge, right? And I jumped to it. I'm totally exhausted because I've been in there for fucking nearly a half an hour, maybe 3/4 of an hour. And I've jumped off the truck and I'm hanging on to the end of the truck like that. It's a 40 feet trailer there. And the next thing I see the bag getting handed. And the bird turns around and looks along the end of the motor at me. She says, I told you I seen someone on back of trailer last night, that Yorkshire broken accent. They'd clocked me. So they're going down the stairs and I slid down the embankment. And I got down to the bottom before them. They must have been local and knew there was a stair. I didn't know there was a stair there, you know. And I said, yeah, no, I'd even got a cup of tea here. And they were nice to me, just walked away from me. They must have totally a fucking lynching because I'm covered in all black. And there were streaks of dust going down my eyes. So I got down to the bottom of the village, right, and I looked to the left, there's that miners type houses, and I looked to the right, and there's big posh houses, and I could start any motor nowadays. So there's a 1300 GT sitting in the driveway. So I got up, opened the bonnet, got a bit of silver paper, a hot wire, and it started, fucking, it was in gear when it ran out of mirror, like, So I'm lying there like that, and I went, that guy must have heard this squirt at 6 in the morning. So I'm lying, and I got up and that, and fucking out to the motor. And I looked down, the 3 girls down, and I sees this bike lying against the wall. So I goes down, and comes the bike, I ran out of guy's cucumbers and fucking plants, whatever it was, head off. So I jumped onto this bike, and I pedalled the bike 27 mile, right? And I get into these wee village types, and I heard all this clickety click, clickety click, and it was like somebody fucking Tetley's tea bags. It was all the wee miners with their bonnets all going to the work, all the miners, right? And I'm like that. So I'm getting back into a country road, and I see this big shed and a farm. So I goes in, and I'm still on the bike, by the way. I pedalled at 27 miles this bike, right? So I goes into the shed, and I see the pit, and there's somebody underneath the pit working in a big bus. So I see a bunch of keys, and I stuck in my pocket, right? And next thing I hear about, "Excuse, can I help you, pal?" And I went like, I've just fell off my bike, mate. Fucking, I've done my leg and that. John, I felt that size. The guy took me out of his house and he bathed my leg, and I wouldn't. This is the leg where I broke, you know. It was gone kind of black then. Mm-hmm. And I felt fucking, I really felt, I never felt low on my leg. The guy helped me, you know. And I couldn't, but I needed the keys, right? So what I done was I dumped the bike in this village, and there was a Nasda in the days, didn't have him up here, right? And I'm sitting up in the hill, and I'm watching the cars coming and going, come and go. I couldn't fucking stole my bike, did I can't fucking pedalled away in the bike. I let it lie against he fucking blagged my bike. And I sees this big, I'll not say what type of car it was. This is the Chief of Yorkshire Police's car, right? Mm-hmm. I goes in and I'm looking at the keys I've got, right? Oh, that'll do it. FS. And chagging the door, got the door open, right? So I couldn't get the fucking this. Do you know anything about all keys? You jiggle them about in motors till you get the opening. Right. You jiggle it about till you get the thing open. Boom, fired up. So I'm driving there anyway, and I'm heading for Lewis, and I'm going down onto the M18, and there's a fucking police thing, or Bobby's neighbour, where the thing was, and the traffic mob wore the white band hats in the days. And I was like that, right? Passing through it, come like me, coming. I'm like that. I'm just ready to crash through it. Now, I have crashed through barriers before, because I was on the run years and years ago, you know. That's the time I escaped with Derby High Court. So what happened was the cunt fucking waved me through, and that. He must have thought I was a fucking chief constable. You get me, you know? Aye, because of the edgy in the car. In fact, the car's there somewhere.
Aye, good buzz, Angel.
Anyway, it's there. But what happened anyway was I headed for Lewis, and that was me on another fucking thing with. But I pedalled that bike for 27 mile, but I felt fucking low with taking the guy's keys, you know. But I needed keys to get mobile, John. That was it. That was the whole scenario, you know.
Well, we'll leave this for the day, and that'll do us for the day. That's a good wee interview, and I'll get back to you. Aye, good boys.
But basically that's it, mate.
Well, Jim Donnelly, finishing interview. Thanks very much, Jim.
This one's a nomine di fili di party about religion. Right. What happened was, I was brought up in the Calton, and we stayed in a wee street called Craignestert Place, right? There was only a wee single shop in it, just like that picture, that painting there, Johnny. Swing your camera around onto the painting there. I showed you earlier on. But what happened was, the guy above me used to visit his granny's. He was called Willie Nimble, right? His name is Campbell, but we always call him Willie Nimble, because he stayed with his granny in Orr Street, you know. And what happened was, we used to do a bit of shoplifting in the bars and stuff like that, you know, in the days. And we used to go down every Saturday, you know, and do a bit of fucking nastiness. And I thought he had a brainwave. Well, fused all the lights in the bars one day and robbed the Giros, because the main switch was in the wee thing behind Bear's Pub, right? That was my advanced criminal brain in the days, you know. But what happened was, we were passing down St Alphonsus Chapel, and Wally went, "What's that?" I said, "That's the chapel in there." He says, "What are they singing?" I said, "That's the hymns." Come on. I said, "Listen, Wally, just do everything I do, right?" So we've got the short trousers on. So we're in, and we're sitting away up at the top right on side, right beside the priest. The priest is there, and we're about maybe 8 feet or maybe 10 feet away from him. And they were messing about. And the priest is like that. In nome di, he's getting out communion, everybody being up here. Nome di party di fili di fanto. Amen. And the priest says, and God is everywhere. And I went like to Willie, I hope he's not in my fucking back pocket eating my sweeties. The priest went, right, used to, out. So I ran right out, St. Alphonsus Chapel. Bang, get knocked down with a Rolls Royce. The next thing I'm fucking lying on London Road like that. And I've recovered. My face is all turning fucking purple. And I got up, there's a big guy with a big cigar hanging over me. And he's got a big cowboy hat. You alright, kid? And I was panicked and I ran all the way right along to fucking Green Street. I knew your old house, right, by that time. And I battered the door. My dad went, the fuck happened to you? I got knocked down with a Rolls Royce. You fucking lady, you cunt. My fucking Rolls Royce. My dad was always one for claims. So what happened was, the next Sunday, Willie's family, they were all bitter ons and that. And I didn't bother with that religion. To me, you come into this world as the same, you get the same fucking way with nothing, right? So what happened was, Willie said, do you want to come down to my church this week? I said, all right. I said, where's that? She's doing it at Steel Street. It's a tent hall. I've got a book there for the 18th century where it started with Negroes. I don't know if you knew that, the tent hall. They came from Africa. Right. And you got a sausage roll down there. So I was right to tell you, John, where we went every Saturday after that, down at the fucking tent hall. That was that. But that was basically about religion and people fucking going against each other. And I believe people are all the same, you know. Uh-huh. But that was it. Nothing else I can fucking think of, really. Any questions?
No, we'll call it a day with you.
There you go.